Hi, Dick Betts with This Week in the Villages. I have a guest today that I've known for 3 or 4 years, Kyle Stepien, who I probably just butchered his name. He can correct it. Everybody does. Anyway, Kyle is my insurance guy. If you follow me on Facebook, you know I have a guy list, and my lender guy, who's not a guy, Rhonda, introduced me to Kyle. And Kyle's been helping me a lot the last 3 or 4 years with homeowners insurance and working with our people here. So I wanted to get him in here today. So first off, Kyle, welcome and tell me about your agency and what you do.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Dick. It's Kyle Stepien, by the way. So Stepien. No worries, happens all the time. So yeah, I have my own property and casualty insurance agency. We do everything from homeowners, auto, flood insurance, also do commercial insurance, workers' comp, general liability. But our bread and butter is definitely going to be the homeowners insurance. I've been in the field about 15 years. I've had my own agency for about 5 years. So we do mainly focus on homeowners, but we do offer all types of coverage. I even have options for health and life. So anything with insurance in the name, we can do basically.
What about golf carts?
We do golf carts. I know that's a big thing in the villages. So,
It is.
yeah, a lot of time the golf carts, it's pretty easy. Especially a lot of people don't know that you can. Some carriers will allow golf carts to be included actually on the homeowners insurance, and also on the auto insurance. So, auto insurance would offer it also. So, it's always good to double check to see if one of your carriers would offer that instead of going and get a separate policy for it. So, just keep it all on one policy, and you also get some discounts by doing that. So it really depends. It varies between all carriers.
Okay. Well, I know every time I sell a house and we start talking to the buyers and we line up a home inspection, I point out to them the importance of a 4 point and a wind mitt. First off, to know what they're buying. But secondly, because as soon as I ask you or your buddy Ryan that you work with, you're asking me where's the 4 point and where's the wind mitt. So could you kind of explain from the insurance side why that is such an important part of the home purchasing?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're coming from out of state, there's definitely gonna be some confusion there because no other state requires this. So even when I started my agency 5 years ago, I came from up north, and I'm like, what the heck is a 4 point wind mitigation? So, and my premiums were even coming in higher than everyone else because I realized one, we'll go over the wind mitigation. The wind mitigation is going to tell you how the roof is connected to the walls. With the hurricanes down here, it makes a big difference. There's different ways it can be connected by nails, hurricane straps. So some of those certain features will give bigger discounts. If we don't have that wind mitigation, you're going to be paying a higher premium most of the time. Now, if it's a newer build, it's not usually required as much as maybe a home that's built in the 20 years ago and older. Because with all the building code changes in the past 15, 20 years, a lot of these new builds are up to code with these discounts, and a lot of carriers are applying it, but it's not a bad idea to even get it. It costs 120 bucks, maybe less if you're packaging it with the 4 point, and they're all usually good for 5 years. So, even if at the shop down the road, we can use that same wind mitigation. But yeah, it's just basically telling about the features to protect from the high winds, the hurricanes, which obviously is huge down here. So I've seen premiums, especially on older homes. I quote it without a wind mitigation, and I'm just throwing numbers out there. I'm on the Gulf Coast, so I might see an $8,000 premium, and I get the wind mitigation back, and it drops all the way down to 2,000. So that's definitely big for the discount portion of the premium. Now the 4 point is more of a requirement for the carriers, an eligibility form. Once again, not always required if the house is newer or 20 years and newer. 20 years and older, almost every carrier is going to require it. And what that is telling is the four main components of the home: the plumbing, the HVAC, the water heater and plumbing kind of go together, roof, and the electrical box. So the carriers want to make sure they're updated. They want to make sure there's not certain like electrical boxes or certain type of plumbing that is not eligible with their guidelines, which there's certain types of plumbing that older homes have that some carriers don't even want to touch. So it's very important that we get that. Otherwise, they're not going to even let us bind it. So, and if we go with a carrier that does not require, because there are carriers that don't require these inspections, you're going to be looking at a higher premium, for the most part. So it's just very important to get it, and it also gives you a peace of mind. You want to make sure everything's in working order. We don't want to see a full home inspection. That's not something we want to see because that's going to show little issues. Once we see an issue, then we're liable to, point that out, let the carrier know. So we just want to see 4-point inspection. We want to see those main 4 components updated. If everything looks good, then we're good. If there's some issues on the 4-point, most of the time, we can get some time to correct it as long as it's not a big issue. Or like me, Dick, will go back and forth. Like, hey, Dick, the 4-point looks good, but this little wire issue, that's usually an easy fix, just needs to be corrected either before closing, or if it's going to be after, I'm just going to need some proof to submit with the carrier. So, those are the 2 most important things. So you always, even if you're not getting a mortgage, definitely want to get the inspections, because a lot of times you're not being told to get the inspection. Dick does a great job. He knows, but a lot of times people buy homes and don't even get those inspections. Or why is my premium so high? All that. So, hope that answers most of the questions.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the good thing about the villages, as you well know, most of our homes, they date back to maybe the mid
Newer.
early 90s, but a
Correct.
majority are 2000 forward. So, we do get an occasional water heater that, you guys are the bad guys, say, hey, you got to put a new water heater in. But it's not leaking, it's fine. I don't care. It's too old. So, but that's the carrier, it's not you, right?
And keep in mind too that the only reason why insurance has these guidelines is because, all because your water heater is working fine. For the majority of the time, a water heater that's 15 or 20 years older, they've seen a lot of issues in the past. So that's how these guidelines come about. It doesn't just happen overnight, like, oh, we're gonna, put this in the guidelines and we're not gonna take that. It's because they've had a lot of losses in the past.
Welcome.
So they've seen
Yeah.
it, they want to avoid it. And that's the whole point of it, with the mitigate any type of damage happening.
Mhm.
We don't just look at things as, people got to understand too, wear and tear is not covered. So if a water heater and HVAC just fails from wear and tear, it's not going to be covered. So it's different if it's something happens and it's faulty, they'll be covered, but not from wear and tear. So you want to just make sure those things are updated, because if they're not, and there is a major leak and it's been major wear and tear, maybe it wasn't disclosed, somehow we missed it, it's very possible they don't cover it. And water could be an expense.
Yeah.
It doesn't
We've
take a
had
lot of
that.
water to cause 20, 30, $40,000 of damage. So it also, so at the end of the day, why I'm bringing that up is that, it's really just helping you, maintain your house and all that too. You just want to have things updated if they're at that life expectancy that, is the average life expectancy of them being,
Hmm.
working.
All right. On social media, which, we do a lot of work on social media, and people say about roofs, age of roofs. Okay. Take 30 seconds and quell all the rumors about roofs and inspection. Could you
What
please?
Absolutely. So it's actually gotten a little bit better over the years, but just really quick education point is that, the main reason we had this roof issue in the past 5 years is because there was just a lot of fraud going on. A lot of roofers and lawyers were, taking these carriers to court for damaged roofs, trying to get a new roof on a 30-year-old roof that they're saying there's damage on them from a hurricane that happened 5 years ago. And it cost the carriers more money to fight in the courts rather than just pay it. So they're just paying it. So that hurt the market a lot. So it's gotten a little bit better recently. But yeah, I have plenty of carriers that do take roofs that are older. These carriers will now, they do what's called either a roof schedule, or they'll rate the roof as actual cash value. So if it's an older roof, I can get it done for you. We can get it done for you, but they might just be covering the remaining value. So if it's a a new roof would be $30,000 to replace, and it's a 20-year-old roof, you might only get 3,000. So it's like your car, like it's the depreciated value. So
Hmm.
we can always get around it. One thing I want to point out is if you hear a friend or if you hear someone that is fear mongering you and saying, "Oh, your roof is 18 years old, no one's going to cover it," don't listen to them. Don't listen to anyone who is giving you insurance advice unless they have an insurance license. I see it all the time, and this is where the fear comes from. Oh, someone told me this, that, that. I'm like, well, do they have an insurance license? No. So I'm like, stop listening to them. So but there are agencies that don't want to touch it. There are agencies that have access to a minimum amount of options, or if you go to what's called a captive carrier, which would be an Allstate, a Geico, a State Farm, everything you see on the commercials, they can only sell one product, and that's their product. So a lot of them, yeah, won't take all the roofs. They're very tight with their guidelines. But that's why I'm a broker, so I have access to 50 standard carriers. We can get into that another time, and then about 100 other what we call non-standard carriers. And I have an option for everything. I can even get roofs done that are 30, 40 years old. I could get policies done. There might be limitations, but there's always an option as long as there's not major damage.
Sounds good. Okay. Well, Kyle, thank you for all this information today. This has been great. Again, insurance is a big rumor, and I always tell my buyers, look, don't listen to anybody but either you or Ryan, because I trust you guys, and you've done really well by me over the years. Actually, I know most of the people watching are basically homeowners, but you guys have helped us out with pool homes. You've helped us out with investors who have bought short-term rentals to be able to get insurance on the property. So again, I'll put Kyle's information on the this video, and then also in the article, I will include his contact information. If you have any questions, this is my insurance guy. Okay, he's my guy. So don't worry about bothering him. I do it 7 days a week. He's a great guy, and he's always working with me. So Kyle,
Awesome.
thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
You are very welcome.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye now.
Bye bye.